The other day I was having this very interesting conversation with a friend of mine about the nature of what we know is to be existence and the beings that incorporate what we call first cause or source energy or God. Now, she believed that everything was everything. I mean, like in the Donny Hathaway kind of way, everything is everything in the way that source energy infuses all of creation across the multiverse. And there is nothing else other than source energy. Even the most despicable and the deepest inversion of what we would consider to be source energy, which is love, is still part of source energy in her perception. And there's lots of literature and lots of people, scholars, lots of gurus, lots of sages, lots of information, mystery school information that would have to and does align with that truth. The truth being that source is everything, including the most darkest aspects and the inversions of love. What we consider to be evil is still source energy. A part of itself has lost its way, so to speak. And if you look at what I remember reading Infinite Love is the Only Truth, Everything Else is Illusion by David Icke back in the early 2010s. And it described the myth, I believe it was a Hindu myth, of a part of source energy that broke off from source and forgot that it was source energy, and therefore in its fear of not being connected to source energy and forgetting it was connected to source energy, it began to feed itself through the denser, heavier vibrations, and it became what we consider to be evil, and had its through that ability to remember itself, utilized the denser energies to feed itself and got bigger and bigger and bigger, and therefore became what we consider to be a lack of love, the inversion of source energy altogether. Now, also in the yin yang symbol, you have the yin and the yang, you have the light and the dark contained within a circle. Now, some people can interpret that as being two sides of the same force contained within the circle itself. But I asked the question, and I don't have an answer to this. I'm just asking a simple question. What if there was another entity that existed that was not source energy, that did not align with love, acceptance, compassion, and empathy? What if there was a energy that was not source energy? In fact, all it was just darkness, a void that sucked and created and fed off all the denser vibrations, like the Hindu myth says, but in a way it wasn't part of source energy or broke off from source energy. It had always been there all along. And that energy, that darkness, that lack of love, that opposite of source energy, if you look at the yin yang symbol, is contained within that symbol, not as being one entity, but being two separate entities within a container. Within the container, two separate entities, two forces that not only work together to bring a degree of balance in the force, so to speak, but what if they were actually two separate entities that had beings that incarnated from those energies? Like you actually had dark beings, dark energies, dark forces that manifested and incarnated into bodies, into dense physical bodies and into etheric bodies, lighter bodies, astral bodies from that dark energy. And there were, of course, beings that incarnated from the light, from the source energy into physical bodies, human bodies, men and women, and other beings throughout the multiverse. And that these two forces not only needed each other for the experiential experience of what they experience in their incarnations, but also needed each other in a way that brought about a degree of balance, and also helped each of those two forces experiencing itself subjectively, experience themselves through their incarnations by giving the polarities to experience. What if that was true? I don't know. I've got more questions than answers, and people would say it's ridiculous to even conceive of this, because we don't have that literature saying that there are two forces at work here, not one that is broken off and it's all the same energy. To me, I was just a sandfly. To me, I asked the question because I think it's a valid one. Is there a dark energy? And in my experience, in my life experience, I've had many encounters with energies that are so far from source energy that I wonder, have they lost their way, or are they incarnations of a different energy just as powerful and all present as source energy that exists alongside source energy? And the two energies move in polarity together to experience existence and incarnate into beings, into bodies, into etheric energy, into form in order to experience itself. Or is that darker force, that darker energy, just a construct of the third dimension or the lower astral? So many questions for me, not a lot of answers. There are people that I follow like G.G. Young or Rudolf Steiner or Edgar Cayce or Gurdjieff, who have very different perspectives on what I'm talking about, and their perspectives are from a deep mystery school connection and deep mystery school knowledge. But my questions are just questions, and simply that. And I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm only asking questions. I've got no answers to this conundrum, so to speak. But I have to wonder, I still do wonder, if there is a energy that is separate from source, that has beings that incarnate into our dimension, not necessarily in a possession sense, because I believe that still happens within our dimension. Some individuals in men and women's bodies have been possessed by lower astral entities and non-human, non-men or woman entities that have attached themselves etherically from the lower astral to the lower chakras of the body, and use those, and like puppeteers moving puppets, they move around the form, the human form, the form of the men and the woman they possess, like marionettes, Team America, Thunderbirds, Stingray kind of marionettes. They move them around, and they move their energies through those beings, because the soul that was in those bodies, in my perception, is no longer there. It's gone. It's been harvested, taken away to the 8th sphere, or taken away to the lower astral, or the soul that was in that body is gone. It's just gone somewhere else. I don't know. But I do feel and believe. Believe is not really the right word. I perceive, because I'm open to having my perception changed at any moment. I perceive that there are definitely beings that are operating through the form of men and women, and I know for a fact, because I was possessed, and I've had attachments in my etheric, manipulating me in a way for those attachments to feed themselves, and for the possession experience that I had in Dunedin many years ago in the early 90s. I know that it's possible for another entity, another awareness, to occupy your form and operate it. Like you would operate a computer on the keyboard and with a mouse, and that you're operating the computer, even though the computer's turned on, you're operating the systems by tapping in words, which therefore the computer interprets and goes about running the system. Same kind of thing. But my question still remains, for me at least, is there another force at work that is not from source energy, that exists alongside source energy, that is just as all present as source energy, and that force, that energy, has beings incarnating into levels of existence from itself in order to experience itself subjectively within the realms of existence in the multiverse. Is that what it is? And is the yin-yang symbol a symbol of a container, a larger container, containing those two energies, those two separate energies, not one, not being one energy, but two separate energies within a container, and then that darkness actually has full existence like source energy, as much as the light is source energy itself. More questions than answers. Maybe you have a better idea of this than I do. Thanks for watching, I truly appreciate it. Mā te ua. I'll see you again soon.